What does it mean to be religious? A lot of people say it's keeping the Torah, but, to people who are trying and have trouble keeping the Torah, there is such a thing as a person not being able to keep the Torah. So there is such a thing as losing control of yourself and not being able to follow the commandments even and laws and all that stuff. And, but it's considered that you kept it. If, let's say, keeping kosher, you can't control yourself and you eat non-kosher, and it's considered that you kept it and you're not held accountable. It's not a sin. A sin is when you willingly do something. Like, I know there are certain, people who want to brainwash and take negative control of people. They say, you broke this law, you're not keeping the Torah, you're not being religious, you're not religious, yada, yada, yada. The truth of the matter is, if, you break a law or whatever, it's not, and it's not in your control, it's not considered that you broke it, and you're still observing the Torah. And I just want to say, observe the Torah to the highest standards, because there's, it's what you've always wanted, like when you were born, you would wonder, what am I created here for? What am I sent here for? If you ask yourself the question, what am I here for? You're here to fulfill the will of God. And many people have failed that test. You're here to pass that test. So, ignore all those people who say, oh, you're not religious. I myself am religious to the highest extent. I myself observe the Torah to the highest standards. And, I myself have sins I can't control, and it's been, it's been a decade since I've been religious now, and there were things that I could control back then that I can't control right now. There's such a thing as people being unhealthy, being sick. There's a lot of things they can't control. They're not held accountable for it. They're not considered sins. If you were not able to control yourself, they're not considered sins. If you so-called committed sins. So don't let anyone brainwash you. Don't let anyone fool you. If you are observing the Torah, this is what the Torah says. You shall observe the Torah. Now, it doesn't necessarily say or mean keep it. Observe it. We observe it. A definition, a dictionary of observe is to view it. But what does the Torah mean by saying you shall observe the Torah and its commandments? You shall observe the Torah and its commandments. You shall keep them. But if you cannot control yourself and you're religious to the maximum, to the max, and you're committing sins, but you are religious, you're considered to be religious 100%. That's how it is. That's how it works. You're considered to be religious as long as you're trying to keep the Torah, and if you can't control yourself and you commit sins, it's not at all in your account. You're not held accountable for it. You're not committing sins, and this is how the Torah works. Therefore, the way a person wants to live their life, what a person wants in their life, a person really truthfully, deep down inside truthfully wants to fulfill the will of God. God created us, God knows what's best for us, and therefore when you observe the Torah to the highest standards, you're living life to the fullest. Whether you can control yourself or not, whether you're committing what's so-called committing sins or not, if you can't control it, you can't control it. There is such a thing. It doesn't mean you're not religious, it doesn't mean you're getting sins, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means you're keeping the Torah this way, and you're not held accountable for it. Those sins, you're not held accountable for it. Therefore, to the whole Jewish world, I say, observe the Torah to the highest standards, and we'll bring the redemption this way, redemption now. And for Gentiles and Jews, observe the 7 Noahide Laws to the highest standards as well, and observe the Torah to the highest standards. Redemption now.